What?
Subscribe.
We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
Just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people.
Subscribe right now.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Ethan got absolutely boned and bent over.
Oh my god!
The fact that the Patriots bought in Joe Milton and the Bills doubled down and took out who was it? Who was their backup?
There was a preseason game. It was a preseason game. There was guys out there that have never played before. And then, it was Joe Milton goes out and throws for like 250 yards, which is like, come on. Like, I'm glad Joe Milton's pretty good, but like, why do you have to win? Like, all you had to do was lose. We get the number 1 pick. I mean, it looks like there's a chance that we still could get Travis Hunter, but
you might.
I don't.
You very well might.
But I don't, because the first 3 teams do need quarterbacks. But like, are they really gonna take Cam Ward and then number 1 overall? Like, that's crazy. I don't know.
Wait, so who has the number 1 overall pick right now?
Titans. So
Titans.
I think like
they're going all in on Shedeur. They are.
I don't know. Apparently, the Titans are more interested in Cam Ward than Shedeur, but also at the same time,
Cam Ward isn't as good as Shedeur, though.
Cam Ward is the less dramatic option than Shedeur Sanders.
Shedeur brings a lot at the very least.
No. See, I think I look at it the opposite way. I think with what Shedeur has done at Colorado and navigating that absolute circus that was last year and then the early part of this year and actually quarterbacking that team to being a top 25 team in the country, I think that just says all you need to know. I think he's way more gifted of a passer than Cam Ward. I mean, he lays throws. He's good short, intermediate, and deep.
Miami
when he went to Colorado, a bunch of transfers came in with him because I mean it was Coach Prime. So
but like here's the thing though, like Cam Ward went to Miami. Like Miami should be better than Colorado.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way, right?
Like
Miami came in the preseason ranked as the 19th team in the country. Colorado just missed the top 25. They're like 27th, 28th. Miami had less options to work with than Colorado did because Colorado was number 1 in the transfer portal 2 years in a row. Coach Prime bought over Travis Hunter. He bought over Shedeur Sanders. He bought over Shiloh Sanders. He bought over 7 other guys who were 4-star recruits from Jackson State who specifically went there to go play for Prime.
Yeah, but that doesn't really count because
Cam Ward had 2 5-star recruits and 7 overall 5 or 4-star recruits with him. That was it, and most of them were on defense. The offensive options were very scarce for Miami, and they were supposed to do absolutely nothing. I don't think either quarterback is really going to be anything special. If the Giants,
there's no Drake May
in my case, if the Giants take anybody, I want it to be Cam Ward. There's less drama. Don't have to deal with fucking Prime in New York. It's the last thing that anybody wants to deal with. It's going to be LeVar Ball all over again.
Prime is going to be in Boulder. That's what he's going to be.
He's going to be the helicopter dad over his child, and I just know it for a fact, whether he's coaching in Boulder or not. That's exactly what's going to happen. And he's going to have a comment about every little thing that happens with Shedeur and how things go. And in my opinion, if the Giants just trade the pick away, and they've already bought back Daboll and Shane, get a haul. I think, Ethan, where you're going, I think it's interesting because the Titans should probably go. They're linked to Cam Ward. They like McMillan, but who takes a wide receiver first overall?
That would be crazy.
They'll probably trade the pick to a team who really wants Sanders or Ward, probably the Raiders, who are now outside looking in. The Raiders will probably trade up. They'll get the Kings ransom. The second pick will go to Cleveland. They'll take a quarterback, whoever isn't there. And the Giants, in my opinion, because you don't really need Travis Hunter, trade the pick as well, get another haul of picks, because someone's going to want Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This quarterback class isn't deep. And so
that's what I mean.
But the Raiders are absolutely in love with Shedeur Sanders.
There's no way they go 1, 2, 3.
I've listened to both babble about this, this is just pure stupidity. This quarterback class is not good. You are not, whichever team wants to trade down, you're not going to get a haul. It's not like it's not like in 2000, what was it, 18 or 17 when it was.
Well, the Bears got a haul.
Rosen, Darnold, Mayfield, Lamar. Like, it's not one of those classes. Like, what, you're gonna get like another first? Congratulations. Like, that's like, it's not like you're getting 2 firsts and a second. Like, it's not that deep of a class. And on top of that, like, if Cam Ward was any good, he would have helped Miami win the freaking ACC. The ACC is the worst conference in FBS, in the FBS. It is. The ACC sucks.
He lost one big game, and it happened to be in the last week to Syracuse, who had everything to play for. Miami had almost nothing to play for. And he had no receivers. Jared Goff, when he got picked in 2016, was also not a highly rated quarterback coming out of Cal. People were more interested in Carson Wentz, and even then they were like, North Dakota State, are we really interested in that?
No,
Jared Goff, 3 draft picks.
Jared, it was pretty obvious because both teams traded up for those players.
Yeah, but people were not interested in Jared Goff and saying, oh no, you're not going to get a huge haul for him. We got 3 draft picks. The same thing happened with Carson Wentz. Both guys were way more even though it's a scarce and a relatively poor recruiting class, it does not mean it's going to deter teams from making dumb decisions. If there is no stupidity when it comes to the NFL draft.
Yes,
stupid teams do stupid things, and the Las Vegas Raiders are the first team on my list to do something fucking stupid. Second to the Browns.
I love how Steve sits there and he's like, "There's no such thing as stupidity in the NFL draft." Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals traded up for Josh Rosen. Actually, I don't even know if they traded up; they just selected him.
Yeah, that was.
When I say that, the people, there's no such thing for any team as a stupid move. If they want somebody, they're going to go and get him, and the Raiders are going to do just that. They'll trade up for a top 2 pick. The Browns will take a quarterback, and the Giants, because they're probably really stupid, will end up doing some dumb shit. Because the last 3 years they've dropped the bat. They've
like
traded
the 3rd
back,
quarterback
and have gotten worse.
In the class.
What is
I
it?
think
Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers, yeah. What if imagine they do like what they did with Danny Dimes?
Stop! Please don't.
Like,
Don't do that with me.
The
Giants 6 years ago wanted Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert said, "I'm going back to school because I don't want to play for any of these teams." And what did the Giants do? They pivoted to Daniel Jones. The same thing. Like, this is all. It's all coming back around. It's a revolving door of shit.
Again.
The Raiders are going to make a dumb move. They're going to go quarterback. The Browns are going to go quarterback. The Patriots actually might get Travis Hunter, which would be insane for him to fall to 4.
Yeah, they're at 4 now.
But there are teams who want Cam Ward, there are teams who want Shedeur Sanders, and there are teams who want Travis Hunter, and they will trade.
If we don't get Travis Hunter, I'd be fine with McMillan. Yeah. That gives him an offensive weapon that we need.
It's the one thing Drake May needs, the best quarterback in this year's class.
Exactly.
Right there.
You know it.
Drake May is the future. Drake May, the fact that Jets fans like Ben over here don't understand that Drake May is going to absolutely dominate the Jets franchise.
He's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, but better.
All right, hold on. Slow your boat. Close, but do not give me the Patrick Mahomes stature on Drake May after 1 year. Give it to me after 4.
I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes. He had a better year than Patrick Mahomes this year.
Yeah, but the whole team was hurt. The whole offense was hurt. They literally just like limped their way into the playoffs. Now they're scary though.
Here's the thing. I can't talk football or any sports with Steve because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Drake May has to actually prove that he can win football games. He won 4 games this year. Actually,
with the worst
no, he won 3
games. He won 3 games.
No, he won 2 games. He only won 2.
No offensive 3 games.
No, 2, because one of them was Joe Milton. One of them was Jacoby Brissett.
Jesus Christ.
So he won 2 games. Okay.
Hey, we beat the Bengals and the Bills, and both of them were in Drake.
Yeah, great.
Drake May has probably the best stuff out of anybody in this rookie class.
No, but again, like he was dealing with wide receivers that couldn't get open. He had like the worst wide receiver room in the league.
The guy's best option was Hunter Henry.
You're that special, that doesn't matter.
Oh, come on.
Well, exactly. He proved that he could do stuff with 0 talent around him. He had no offensive line. He had Hunter Henry was his best receiver.
Oh my gosh, he won 2 games. That's sick.
With Hunter Henry and Demario Douglas getting the ball. Like, I get it. Tom Brady won 12 games with Kembrell Tompkins, but like that's Tom Brady. It's his rookie year.
Tom Brady. I wasn't comparing.
Drake May won 2 games, showed that he had really good stuff, was actually finished as a top 15 quarterback in terms of QBR, passer rating, all those other advanced stats that I don't even really give a shit about, but they still matter to a degree.
Just talking about him.
And a head coach who just got fired, a bottom 3 offensive line, no receiving options, a first-year head coach who just got canned. Like, this kid was thrusted into the worst situation out of any quarterback.
You want to know something?
Rookie starting quarterback.
You want to know something? This is literally the typical situation that these young quarterbacks see, and that's why 85% of them fail.
Yeah. But I don't think Drake May's 2 wins.
Drake May's not going to fail.
Yeah, I don't think it's a failure.
Look, no. I think that Drake May is a very good prospect. I really do. He actually impressed me a lot. Okay, but here's the thing: there have been a lot of rookie quarterbacks. Even Marcus Mariota was pretty good his rookie year.
Like, I mean, Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler.
Oh, stop! Oh my god!
Seriously, like Mac
it
Jones
was an injury Pro Bowl, but it still counts.
That man will always hang his head on the fact that he was in fact in the Pro Bowl. All right,
and he grittied like 90 yards.
Maybe the one thing that I will always remember Matt Jones for is that absolutely disgustingly bad gritty. Welcome in, friends. Welcome into the Get in the Hole podcast. Steve McAvoy, Ben Pirro, and our boy Ethan up in the corner, coming to you live from the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network, down from the underground, streaming live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you can get a hold of your favorite golf content, bringing you all the news, updates, and betting tips from around the golfing world. And today and every day, we are sponsored by some of the best brands in the biz. And of course, how can we not start off a show without talking about Tomahawk Shades? Paige Spiranac did a video the other day. She was rocking her shades. Jazz Chisholm, who's apparently not going to be the Yankee second baseman. I don't know what's happening there. But like guys like Kyle Harrison, Chris Hogan, and the bunch, all repping the Tomahawk Shades brand. And you could be just like them. And you can get right on the wagon and join the best small batch eyewear brand in the nation by going to TomahawkShades.com or downloading the Tomahawk Shades app on the App Store, Google Play Store, and browse their selection from sunglasses to prescription lenses, blue light glasses, ski goggles, and more. And use code USP for 25% off your next order at TomahawkShades.com or the Tomahawk Shades app. Fellas, great opening week on the golf calendar. You can say what you want about Kapalua and 35 under par being an absolutely ridiculous score, whether it be good or bad. But we have some pressing issues to deal with before we jump into the news of the past week. The Korn Ferry Tour also started off their season this week down in the Bahamas, and I found this through Monday Q Info, Ryan French, who has been really on top of what's been happening in this sector of the golf world that gets kind of overlooked and untouched. And fascinatingly, the field this week was 132 players. They extended it to 144. Now, we know the impending rule changes that are occurring to the PGA Tour next year, as well as what's happening to the Korn Ferry Tour and so on, limiting of tour cards and so on. What's fascinating is that they extended the field from 132 players to 144 players. As it turns out, conditional PGA Tour status holders have decided that instead of playing the conditional events they can play on the PGA Tour, they are going to instead opt for an entire full year calendar on the Korn Ferry Tour and only play the opposite field events when required to, essentially via tour status. Ben, I want to get your take here because this is kind of it's an interesting swing that no one really ever talked about, no one thought about happening. This is now affecting guys who from Q-School made it onto the KFT and are basically getting starts taken away from them because PGA Tour status takes the precedence over some of these guys. So while they're not getting guaranteed starts, they're having to extend fields. This might happen for multiple events over the next few weeks or months. According to Ryan French, guys who have the conditional status, when asked if they'd rather play a Korn Ferry Tour event over a opposite field event, have opted and said, I want to play the KFT event rather than the opposite field event, even though they can't. What does this mean as we go from week one and possibly have to deal with a whole entire year of this happening? Is there a meeting point? Is there a way to make this any easier or better? Is there a way to add more events to the schedule, more opposite field events, even on the Corn Ferry Tour for next season? What's the answer?
PGA Tour made the bet, so now everybody's got to lay in it. This is just a byproduct of a very short-sighted and just really idiotic move. This all stems from trying to keep 7 guys happy because no one knows how to play decently paced golf. Like that's it. That is literally, that is me explaining it as simply as I can to anyone who doesn't know about this situation. At the end of the day, I completely understand why the tour players are just going to shift to the Corn Ferry Tour, because when you get to the point of most of these guys are a little bit older, right? So most of these guys are really like the late 20s, early 30s, kind of maybe in the mid 20s, but really like most of these guys are late 20s, early 30s. They're at the point now where splitting time between tours does them absolutely no good. Because the whole goal when you first turn pro is just to play as much as you can because you need to gain the experience. But it gets to a certain point where once you're playing tour golf, and we're talking like real tour golf, we're not talking Moonlight Tour, we're not talking Florida Pro Tour, we're talking like Asian Tour, Latin America, Canada, Corn Ferry, DP World Tour. We're talking that, the Japan Tour, the Korean. You need to put yourself in the best position possible to elevate your career and get yourself to the very next level, or stay at the highest level. And so what these guys have decided to do is say, you know what, I don't have full status on tour. It's going to hurt me really in that, because of that, I'm getting screwed in both aspects. I'm not going to get that many starts on the PGA Tour. So my chances of getting full status for next year is already less than what I'd like it to be. I don't have very good odds. And then if I don't play that many Corn Ferry events, I might not finish in the top, I believe it's 85 by the end of the year list to keep my Corn Ferry Tour card. So it does you no good to just split it 50-50. And so that's why guys are like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to go play the Corn Ferry Tour as much as I can. It's less money, but I know I have the game to compete on the PGA Tour. So one would think in my mind, I have a better game than most of these guys on the Corn Ferry Tour anyway. So if I finish is it top 30 still, Steve? Or is that next year that it goes to?
I think this year it'll be top 30. I believe next year it'll be top 20.
Okay. Regardless, though, whatever they have to finish, top 30, top 20, whatever, they're like, I have a better that would be more valuable to me, because then I can just hopefully by the end of the year I have full status.
Yeah.
Which chances are you probably want a full status if you're if you're splitting time. So, I mean, they'd probably get a demotion of the Corn Ferry Tour, but at the end of, if they didn't have status, really full status either way. But people don't realize that you need to play in one place for as much as you can, because there's always something that can elevate you. And so that's why you see a lot of guys like, a lot of guys I know someone personally, he played on the Asian Tour last year. Okay. And he was like, I'm just going to play on the Asian Tour. I think it was top 50. That was like some sort of like deal with LIV. I'm not 100% sure what it was. It might've been like some sort of Q-School for LIV. But if he got into the top 50, he would have an opportunity to then elevate his game. It would have done him absolutely no good to play hypothetically half the year on the Corn Ferry and then half the year on the Asian Tour. Like I know there was a player last year who was playing on the DP World Tour, and he had a couple Challenge Tour starts as well, but it was mostly on the DP World Tour. But he would come back to the States and he played like a PGA Tour event that he got a sponsors exemption into, and like he played in, I think he might have played in maybe 1 or 2 Corn Ferry events. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, just stay in Europe, because the more starts you get over there, you have a better opportunity to make more money. Like you're getting more opportunities. And so really at the end of the day, the PGA Tour players who have conditional status, they're just like, we're going to take the best opportunity for ourselves to elevate our game. Now, what does that do? Well, it screws the younger guys out of starts, unfortunately. And this is what happens when you make short-sighted decisions. So I tried to explain that the best that I could, but really it's just those guys with conditional status, they're like, we need to get as many starts as possible on the Corn Ferry Tour at this point, so we don't have to worry about not having any place to play, essentially. And that way we can just try to elevate ourselves so we have full status next year on the PGA Tour instead.
Yeah, no. So the whole, and like people, for those who don't understand, like you either finish this year top 30 on the money list or the points list, you can get your PGA Tour card. You can also finish, you can earn 3 wins in the Corn Ferry Tour season and get promoted. The conditional status, these guys get, I believe, like 5 or 6 starts at the most, and for the most part, those are locked in by opposite field events. The Puerto Rican, the Punta Cana, not even the Bermuda. I'm drawing a blank. The Barracuda, if that's even the name of it anymore, and what used to be the Barbasol, are the 4 I think
the
that
Disco or something now in Kentucky.
Something like that. It's whatever it is. There's really only 4 opposite field events throughout the entirety of the year that you could really qualify for, and one of them, granted, you're probably not going to be getting an invite to the Open, but it coincides the week prior to the Open. So if you were to happen to get an invite, you're kind of screwing yourself over with timing and jet lag and so on. Anyhow, it makes sense that you opt for the Corn Ferry Tour season when not that the competition level is any different than what you probably face in an opposite field event. But what I found fascinating was when Ryan French literally asked guys, like, hey, like, would you rather play in a Corn Ferry Tour event rather than a opposite field event? They're like, yeah, give me the Corn Ferry Tour event. They would rather go and fight for the 3 wins, similar to what Harry Higgs did this past year. I think he won twice and finished top 10 on the money list, as opposed to going for an opposite field event. You're playing with the best players of that grouping that are still very talented. Don't get me wrong. Like, you're going to play a Corn Ferry Tour schedule. The guys are still great because they're right there at the precipice of joining the tour, and very similar to just watching the PGA Tour, as those probably don't even know what the Corn Ferry Tour. There's still probably 15, 20 guys every single week who could win the event. So it's very, like, the parity in golf, we always mention it, is so much greater than it ever has been. So yeah, it makes sense to go for the lower level field rather than trying to fight your way onto the PGA Tour, get your promotion that way. I also like, and what's fascinating to me is that we've never talked about this. We never talked about the idea that even really with the former rulings that have been on tour for the last 5 years and longer, we never really talked about how conditional status players don't really even get a fair shake, because they don't even end up as top alternates for PGA Tour events anyways. And they can only really get in based on Monday queues, and not every single event has one. Like, for example, this week was the last ever Monday qualifier for the Sony Open. Now we're never going to see, for the rest of the time, the Sony Open will never have a Monday qualifier. Like, they're getting less and less chances to try and get their way into full tour fields. And of course, yeah, if you win an opposite field event, you earn your tour card for 2 years. That's great. But think of the guys who in recent memory have been able to do that. Akshay Bhatia is really the one guy who was uber noticeable. I believe, was it Brandon Steele? I think won another one. I think he might have won the Puerto Rico last year. I could be wrong. But the guys who win are either super longtime veterans or young studs who are going to make the tour anyways. So if you're the other guy who might have been the last person to get conditional PGA Tour status, you're kind of getting screwed at opportunities. And it's fascinating that we never talked about it prior, because I never really thought about it, but now it's only getting worse. So, like, what is there even a solution? You can't do anything now. The schedule has been set, and we already know the Corn Ferry Tour schedule is so topsy-turvy. You already talked about it ad nauseum, trying to add more opposite field events to the PGA Tour, but that probably won't change because you probably can't get the sponsorships to want to get in on a lower level event. So what do you do?
I don't really know if there's much we can do or they can do. I think this all could have been avoided by just telling guys to play faster and telling the 7 players that you're scared about leaving.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't even really that important, but they're more known for their name than game at this point. It's a pretty good phrase right there. But there's nothing they can do. We've talked about maybe doing a PGA Tour 1A and a PGA Tour 1B. I think that would be great.
Great.
But can the PGA Tour actually do that? Can they actually put their brains together and figure it out? I'm not that confident that they can. Because look, at the end of the day, they're more concerned about the guys who bring eyeballs and bring fans out. That's what they're concerned about, and they can't afford to lose them. And so at this point, you're going to see a lot of guys, and this is what happens when the tour also kind of over promises some things, where they were kind of like they were promising guys more starts and they don't get them. And so some people were thinking that, oh, maybe they'll be the opposite now. Maybe they'll be able to actually surprise some guys with some more starts. That doesn't really seem likely with where the game's going. The more if you just logically think about it, at the end of the day, this is just going to be the landscape of golf. I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's going to last at least a year. We know that. So, starting next year, because next year is only going to be 100 cards.
It's only going to be harder.
Yeah, it's only going to be harder. I mean, so this is what happens when you make a very insular game even more insular.
We actually have this slated for the other half, but I want to bring this into the fold as we kind of just discuss the pitfalls of the PGA Tour. So the PIP occurred, the final PIP ever after 4 or 5 years of its existence. Came in and was announced today. And while we're badgering on the pitfalls of the PGA Tour and just what's been wrong, the best term that I've heard the entirety of the week was this will always be referred to the last 3 or 4 years, thanks to LIV and how things have turned over, the money drunk era of the PGA Tour. The idea that we're going to throw every ounce of pennies to the dollar that we can find at an issue that was never actually going to get resolved. And Tiger won the 3 out of the 4 PIPs ever. Rory edged him out last year. Scotty made a ton of money. It the PIP, while some great names came on, like Shane Lowry got in for the first time. He finished 7th. Xander Schauffele went from 11th to 4th. Obviously, the 2 majors really helps. Morikawa, a resurging year after a pretty poor performance in 2023, comes back, jumps from 14th to 6th. Wyndham Clark, even with the U.S. Open last year, went from 16th to 10th, so he got a bit of a jump. But one of the names who finished top 5 that you're probably looking at the graphic and you're like, oh, wow, he finished top 5 again. The guy that finished 67th in the PGA Tour FedEx Cup points, Jordan Spieth, for the 4th time in a row, finishes in the top 5 despite having the most humdrum season you could possibly see. And for what? He's making an extra $4 million for what? It's because the PGA Tour has had this mindset where we need to retain all of our top talent. Didn't work with keeping Bryson. Didn't work on Brooks Koepka. John Rahm, who was top 3 in the PIF for 3 years in a row, said, "Fuck this, I'm out." And for pretty damn good reason. This has been the money drunk era of golf. And they must have realized that the money wasn't enough, so we might as well just keep the boys' club even tighter. And that's what's led to the rule changes. And of course, who sits on the board for these rule changes? Some of the guys who have been the biggest benefactors of the PIP and of all of these short-term launches that Jay Monahan and co have tried to come up with.
Here's the thing. I think the problem with the PIP, when the PGA Tour was kind of going through different scenarios and ways to keep their stars happy, they almost kind of acted like the Yankees, just throwing money at the wall and hoping it sticks. Exactly. Literally, it's like the Yankees signing, who'd they sign from Atlanta? Max Fried?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that contract's going to be terrible. But you know, like they lost a star, Soto. They're like, we gotta like throw money at the wall and hope that it sticks. And so we're going to sign this guy that isn't good and this guy that's always hurt, and it's not going to go well. The PGA Tour basically did the same thing. I mean, at this point, okay. At this point, I mean, look, Tiger is, as far as a golfer, completely irrelevant. Okay. The only reason people are the only reason he won is because it's Tiger Woods and people want to know what is he going to play in, what's he doing. He has a huge social media following. Obviously, he's the GOAT. Duh. But at the same time, this also benefits guys. This benefits either historical household names like Tiger, Rory, Jordan, and then it also benefits guys who have a really good year, which is kind of, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So like Scotty by far and away, best player this year. Xander, clearly second best player this year. It's what they said that they were trying to do didn't really work. And that's pretty obvious because really the only guys that benefited from this without being household names and without being guys who really blew the doors off as far as performance were, yes, Shane Lowry had a very good year, but no one really cares about Shane Lowry. Like in the grand scheme of things, like it's just kind of like, oh, there's Shane Lowry. And Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood hasn't even won a PGA Tour event.
In 165 starts.
There you go. So like those are two guys that are just kind of like almost like, I shouldn't have said don't care. They're more like afterthoughts. Like no one's really going to watch those two guys play, right? At the end of the day, this was just the PGA Tour's way of trying to just throw money at the wall, hoping it stuck, and trying to keep the stars happy. And they kind of succeeded. I mean, they kept an aging Tiger Woods who doesn't even play anymore from going to LIV. So that's good. They kept Rory, who basically can't go to LIV based on everything he's ever said about guys who went to LIV and what LIV is. You know, they kept Scotty Scheffler, who is very just tight-lipped about the whole situation. And you know he's not going to leave because he's by far and away the best player on tour. He's set for life. He has no reason to leave. I mean, the whole purpose behind it that they claimed was the purpose, what they claimed was the purpose, was really kind of a failure.
Yeah. And
Like,
to be honest with you,
1 second. One other thing, Steve. No. Not to cut you off, but like, you know who really deserves it? Like who deserves to be in the top 5? Max Homa, Wesley Bryan. Yeah, like those guys, they are amazing on social media. Wesley is more like YouTube, but it's the same thing. I consider YouTube, social media, it's all the same at this point in my eyes. Like, how could those two guys, who are by far some of the funniest and most likable guys, super creative, not be in the top 10? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm sure that there are other guys in that category as well, who are like who is it? Joel Damon, another guy I could totally see being worth the top 10 in this category. Everyone loves Joel Damon. I guarantee he didn't even sniff the top 10. I would bet. So I think it was just what the PGA Tour claimed that they were trying to do, quite simply didn't work.
So what's like, I'm gonna actually push back on your point. I don't think anybody in this top 10 of the PIP would have even gone to LIV, even if they had the opportunity to. Except for, I mean, like, we know Tiger was offered money. We know Rory would. I don't think Tiger, for the pride reasons, would have gone. I think Scotty is a loyal guy. He wouldn't have gone.
I said Tiger didn't go. Scotty didn't go.
But like, what I'm saying is, though, like, as I took from your point, the whole point of the PIP was to keep guys from going there, which really was the reason. But even if the PIP didn't exist, I don't think Tiger was ever going to go to LIV anyways. I think the whole point of the PIP was to kind of keep the people at the top happy and content, more than it even was an idea that they would jump. Because really, the guys who they really should have been looking out for are the guys who did leave. like John Rahm, who had been projected to go to live golf for
John Rahm is it was a top golfer though. Like, so your point's valid.
What I'm saying is that John Rahm would have finished here in the top 10 of the PIP had he been on the PGA Tour. BrysonDeChambeau probably would have done the same. Brooks Koepka would have been probably around the bottom half. But they all jumped, knowing the PIP existed, knowing they could have had some money. But they saw other things wrong. I don't think any of the guys here in the top 10 would have went to live because they have too much pride in their own game and they wanted to stick around with the one product that's been around forever. Tiger knows that he has stature within the PGA. He also has the TGL and everything else that's linked into the PGA Tour roots and enterprises. Rory, despite getting an offer and apparently weighing it and turncoating and believing in what Liv said as of about 6 months ago, still probably would have never gone. Scotty's too loyal. Xander's too loyal. I think Colin Morikawa's too loyal. The guys in Europe, they could have very well done it, but they don't really care at that point. The only guy in this top 10 who would have maybe gone was Wyndham Clark. And even then, I don't think he has a peg to stand on when it comes to popularity. And would he be missed? Probably not. But John Rahm left. BrysonDeChambeau left. Brooks Koepka left. These guys, even Dustin Johnson, would they have been necessarily in the top 10 outside of Rahm and Bryson? Probably not. But they're still big-time names that the PIP was brought in to try and avoid their departure, and it didn't work. And at the end of the day, this all became just a gift because Tiger Woods can hit a golf ball and win the PIP. Literally could go to any range in America, hit one golf ball, and he's won it. Rory McIlroy can do one thing, and he's immediately in the top 5. It's those names. The whole point of what the PIP should have been was rewarding the guys who had really good years, who actually have truly, it's the same thing with like the MVP in sports, the biggest impact on the tour as like the MVP, the most valuableness to your team rather than who had the best overall numbers. We could debate this. We could turn the script here and go NFL MVP, and I can tell you right now that Joe Burrow should win the NFL MVP. Without Joe Burrow, they're a 3-win team. But no, the money's going to go to Lamar and it's going to go to Josh Allen because they have the 2 best stats in the NFL. I agree with you. It should be a Wesley Bryan and a George Bryan, even the Michael Kim, who people don't even really talk about, but has been a great presence on Twitter. By the way, go follow him. He literally gives you all of the insight from a pro golfer that you should be looking for. Max Homa is one of the funniest guys on tour. Why is he not in the top 10? He barely cracked the top 10 last year. Like, these guys are really the people who are making the tour more special. Not Tiger Woods. What is he doing? What is Rory McIlroy doing to advance the game of golf at this point? The PIP and what the tour has been trying to do for the last 5 years to keep guys in and now is trying to shrink everything has been a complete 180 of what their ethos was, because their ethos has always been a for the players, by the players kind of tour, and it's completely gone out the window. And I think it's funny how we're now dealing with the backlash after week 1, essentially week 0, where we haven't even had a Corn Ferry Tour event yet. It's happening this weekend, and we've already had to expand the field. We've had to now make exceptions. We've had to talk to 22-year-old guys who went through Q-School, made the Corn Ferry Tour, and now said, sorry, you can't be in your first start. You signed up for it, but we have guys with conditional status who want that spot, so we're going to give it to them. It's a trickle-down effect, and it's only going to get worse as we go on and as we proceed. And whatever it might be, the PIP, these new rule changes, whatever it is, it all goes back to one person and one group. And it's the 7 people in the room with Jay Monahan who are trying to make policy changes for the greater tour, when really there's a myriad of people who are far more affected than a Jordan Spieth is or a Patrick Cantlay is, who's in the room making these policy changes. It's sad. That was a ramble, but you get my point.
Stop listening. All right, what's next? What's next on the docket?
Thanks, Ben. That's just a great way to treat your co-host. We're taking a break. We'll be back.
Get in the Hole is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company, our incredible merch partners. PHI Apparel Co. provides Unique designs and high-quality clothing from t-shirts to hoodies for every golfer around. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out on the course, the driving range, or at the 19th hole. Go to phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off any order. That's code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co and grab exclusive Get in the Hole podcast merch and support your favorite golfers.
All right, we're back. So, I'm like losing my marbles right now. Let's get into some shout outs this week, brought to you by our boys over at Acorn Hills. They're changing the game through conservation. They started out of a dorm room in Western PA, and Acorn Hills is dedicated to giving you the top flight clothing that you've been looking for. And it's all right there at your fingertips at acornhillsco.com. Every dollar purchased or every dollar put towards a purchase will plant a seedling through the National Forest Foundation to promote afforestation across our great land. Of course, Acorn Hills dedicated to supporting environmental efforts by offering biodegradable clothing tags, packaging, recycled materials, and so on. Be sure to use code GITH15 for 15% off your next order at acornhillsco.com and look your best from the ground up. We start our shout outs with Hideki Matsuyama, who this week had what could only be described as a historic run. 35 under par at the Sentry Tournament of Champions, the opening event of the year, lost in a nice big $3.6 million paycheck, while, of course, getting basically a free vacation down in Hawaii. Lost in the lowest score to par in PGA Tour history, edging out what was previously set at the same event, might I add, 2 years ago, by Cam Smith and John Rahm. So shout out to Hideki Matsuyama for third win in 12 months, first win since the FedEx St. Jude last August. So a great move for Hideki to get the ball rolling as he goes into now the Sony Open, where, if you remember, a couple of years ago, he won there as well, looking to possibly get his second win in as many weeks.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable.
Got sick.
He's so good. Okay, big time shot from Taylor Pendrith. He made an albatross in the par 5 fifth hole from 203 yards out. First at the Sentry since the event moved to Kapalua in 1999. This is the 142nd albatross on tour since 1983. He said afterwards, it's actually number 8, which is weird. I have 3 hole-in-ones and now 8 albatrosses. First one in a tournament, which is pretty cool. Did you know the albatross is actually the rarest shot in golf? It's rarer than a hole-in-one.
I can imagine. Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, he's 8 albatrosses.
To have 8 of them, though? That's crazy.
8. I mean, that's insane. I mean, that means you're just dunking long irons right now. That's incredible.
I actually did know this. I ended up in the rabbit hole last night. It turns out that there were 5 albatrosses last year alone, and I feel like they would get more coverage, but they don't, and I don't know why. Like you got to realize you're hitting a shot probably no less than 200 yards out, right? Par 5, you're probably somewhere in that range, unless it's a pretty close hole. But for the most part, 200 yards.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're looking anywhere if you're going for the green. You're probably looking especially with how long the courses are now, probably 220 to 280 if you're going for the greens.
Yeah, like absolutely like nuts. This is actually really interesting. I've been looking into some numbers, and Patrick Kelly's been off to a pretty damn rough start. Dating back to last year, in his last 6 events, he does not have a top 10, including an 18 and 30-man field. So 2 of those events came in a shortened field, including the Tour Championship. He has 0 wins. He had 0 wins last year. Would you consider this a significant slump for Patrick Cantlay? He finished just inside the top 25 this week, but has not been able to do much in 2024. For someone who's been at this certain level where you kind of expect the most from him ever since he won his Tour Championship back in 2021 or 22, I believe. Seems like things have been off to a pretty rough go of things.
His game has kind of been on the downturn recently. I don't know how old he is. Let me look up how old he is.
I think he's like no older than like 32.
Because he's been playing forever.
Which also he looks like he's aged like milk. Maybe it's his hairline. But he's he's 32 years old.
By the way, he finished tied for 15th.
Sorry, thank you. 15th.
Okay. Here's the thing. Golf is a game of ebb and flow. I still do believe he's one of the best players in the world. Look, at the end of the day, this is his. Did he even play the Hero? I don't know if he did. I think he must have. I think he did. I think I bet on him. Regardless of that's not even if he did, it's not really a big tournament. Yes, he doesn't have. You're right. He doesn't have top tens in his last 6 events. At the end of the day, though, for him, this is the first event back, and so a lot of times he probably just ended the year on a sour note, and then it's just the first event back, and no one really cares that much. I mean, yes, like these guys care, but everyone's showing up. If you can, you show up. You get paid. It's a pretty chill event. The time change can be an issue. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I wouldn't be sounding the alarm yet. Let's see how the year goes. I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll be back to his normal self, and he'll probably win 2 to 3 times this year.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a major slump. I mean, he still had a handful of top tens throughout the year. He had a 3, 4, 5 top fives. But to not be able to finish in the top 10 over your last 6 weeks, I get it. Playoff fields, but also Tour Championship, finished outside the top 10 in the Hero. Like, there are certain things that I expect Patrick Cantlay to excel at, and particularly in certain situations, especially the Tour Final when you finish 17th, but you still had an aggregate score over a lot of other guys. I think he was like 6 under going in. Just didn't give him enough of a boost. He's been good in major field. He finished 3rd at the U.S. Open last year. Barely finished outside the top 20 at the Masters. Finished 25th at the Open. I think he missed the PGA. Sorry, no, finished 53rd at the PGA. So like, it hasn't been the level that I guess people had hoped since he had won the Tour Championship. That was kind of like the apex. I think he won 4 times that year. As John Rahm, everyone's like, was like, oh my god, now this is like his breakout. And it kind of hasn't really hasn't grown into much. I believe that year, I know he won the Memorial, and that was sort of stolen from John Rahm with COVID that week. He won the BMW in a putt off with Bryson. Won the tour final. I think he finished top 10. I think in almost every major. I know he finished towards the top of the leaderboard at the Players. Like, that was a breakout year. And since then, while it's great to finish top 20 every week, like Kevin Kisner says, you make a lot of money. But hasn't amounted to any wins in the last year, and hopefully can get back on his horse and get a win early. But for 6 events, that is particularly 2 short-sided events, not be able to get where you have to be is a pretty big loss.
No, look, I mean, I genuinely think he'll be fine. People also don't understand. It's really hard when you have a year that he had when he did win the Tour Championship. I mean, that's a phenomenal year, right? At the end of the day, that's really hard to duplicate. Because do it again, do it again, do it again. There's only a handful of guys that can say like they did it again, right? And so I think Patrick is one of those guys who has almost this like mystique about him, because when he came out of UCLA, he was supposed to be like the next big thing. And that was years ago. I mean, it feels like such like that's just how long he's been on tour for. But he was hurt a lot. He was ineffective, and it almost felt like he just like kind of fell off the face of the earth. And so I think given where he was then and where he is now, he always had a big name because of how, like, I remember he shot 60 as an amateur in the Travelers. And so everyone had these expectations for him that he was going to play so well and he was going to be the next big thing. And sometimes it just doesn't really work out that way. And I think that year that he won the tour championship, you kind of saw him fulfill his actual potential, right? But is he ready to win a major? Will he ever be good enough to win a major? I don't know if he has the game to win a major. I mean, what do you think? I mean, I think he can contend. I'm not saying he can't contend, but like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, is he good enough to win a major? Because like, I get it. Like, yes, winning the tour championship is a big deal. It's against 30 guys, so it's kind of like, it's such a small field and it's also always such a crapshoot at that course because it really is actually a very difficult golf course, East Lake. I don't know if he has the game to win a major. And I think that like maybe this is just kind of who Patrick is, who like his bad years, he's going to be like 15th in the FedEx Cup, and his really good years, he'll win 2 or 3 times and finish top 5. And that's still a very, very good tour player. But like, is he just kind of like a really good Tommy Fleetwood?
I think that it's two actually two very similar guys. I think both Cantlay and Fleetwood are very similar in a lot of different ways, but also just two kind of different, I think, like power dynamics when it comes to the way they play golf. I think Cantlay's very on himself, and I've noticed it from when he's played like in Ryder Cups. It's like he wears his heart in his sleeve, and he's not afraid to get a little bit over emotional sometimes. What's fascinating is, and I was curious about it, his record in match play is incredible. Like, he's a really good Ryder Cup player, and for some reason, I think that the mindset of being able to win a major kind of goes hand in hand with your ability to play well in a pressure cooker situation at something like a Ryder Cup. And he's managed to play really well in both his regular one-on-one matches, but also in a team setting. I certainly think Patrick Cantlay could win the major. Do I think it'll happen anytime soon? I think everything needs to work. Like they always say, like there's always the guy who plays the most well-rounded game will always win a major. But at the end of the day, you still need everything. Like there are guys who are difference makers. I think Brooks Koepka is a really good example. One thing can be off, but he can still do enough in the other facets of the game to win. Scottie Scheffler does the same thing. Scottie Scheffler was not, for the early part of his career, a great putter. He's gotten really good. He's gotten amazing at it, actually. But Scottie Scheffler was good enough to win events without needing a really strong putter. Tiger's a bad example because he's always done everything right. But the putter was always the one thing where if he was lacking somewhere else, he can make up 5 strokes in the green easy. So with Patrick Cantlay, I don't think that really applies. Do I think he could win a major? Yeah, I think he has the game for it. He'll always be in contention, I think. No matter what, he'll always have the betting odds. He'll always have the fan base to back him up. But I think he's a little bit different than everybody else. He needs to be really hot. He needs to have everything working. And he needs to be in a very different mindset than I think a lot of other guys are in. I just don't think he's in it right now. Look, I'm not him, so I can't tell you what he's thinking, but there's something, if this is a topic that's being brought up and people are debating it on social media, then clearly there's something up with Patrick Cantlay that everyone wants to figure out. So I think that's kind of the interesting point of why we're even talking about it.
The thing with Patrick is he's not Superman in any aspect of his game. And I think that's basically what you're saying, right? Like, look at, like Tiger, yes. He's just Superman. He was Superman in every part of his game, so, like, throw him out. But, like, look at Bryson. Bryson's Superman off the tee. And then when he gets other things going, he hits it so far, he could be in the rough, and that's how he won Winged Foot, right? And so it didn't really matter that he was hitting out of the rough. Look at Rory. I mean, look, like, I know, like, you and I have really just, like, kind of destroyed Rory on this show before, but, like, when Rory was winning majors, he was by far the best driver of the golf ball that week. I mean, by far. And that helps mask so many different parts. Brooks, another really long driver of the golf ball. And so when you're that gifted and you can almost, like, people call it like in basketball, hero ball, right?
Yep.
Like where you have like you have this spectacular stuff that makes up for all your deficiencies. Like Russell Westbrook had that, right? He was so spectacular. He could suck at being a 3-point shooter. He could suck at his efficiency, but he was so amazing he could kind of make it up. That's what a lot of major champions have, because they're so amazing. And golf's different from basketball, but like they have this one thing that they're really good at, and when it's on, it masks other issues that could arise. Whereas Cantlay, he's not physically imposing. He doesn't hit it overly long. He hits it really good. But, like, what is his superpower?
So it's funny that you bring this up because this show is just the golf football show today. I was having this debate with John, and I was saying how last night Mike Evans got his 1,000-yard season, right? And I said that he's a top 5 receiver. I think Mike Evans is that good. But John brought up a really interesting point. He goes, I think every single year that Mike Evans has played, I can name you 5 guys who have been better than him. And I go, you probably can. But it's because Mike Evans isn't sexy. Patrick Cantlay isn't a sexy golfer. He does everything really well, but he doesn't do it. And he doesn't do any one thing, like you're saying, like superpower, insane, Tiger can putt, Bryson can drive, Will Zalatoris can have approach game. Like nothing is the number one thing in the field, but everything is number 10 in the field every single week. Like he's a model of consistency. Yeah, like people don't even realize he's 17th in the all-time money list. He's made a shit ton of money. He's made more money than guys. Now, granted, he's been playing for a while, but as a full-time pro for about 8 years, he's made more money than Keegan Bradley has made in a longer period, than Webb Simpson has made in a much longer period. Granted, of course, like purses have grown exponentially over time, and he's won a tour championship. But at the end of the day, Patrick Cantlay is a really, really, really good golfer. He's just not the guy who everyone immediately looks at and says he's top 5 or he's top 10. I could probably name you 5 or 6 guys who are better than him every single week.
He's just like kind of Mr. Consistent, reliable.
Yeah.
Like Mike Evans is going to have a 1,000-yard season every single year.
Exactly.
It might take him a little shorter, a little longer. It just depends. And Patrick Cantlay is going to be anywhere from probably 5th to 15th in the FedEx Cup. It just depends on how he plays that given week. He might have a great week. He might have a bad week. He might string together a couple wins, or he might just finish top 20 every week and have like a nondescript year like he did last year. I will say, though, before we go to the next thing, if Danny Willett can win the Masters, I think Patrick Cantlay. I'm not saying I am taking back what I said about Patrick Cantlay not quite having the game to win, but it does give me cause to pause. Where if Danny Willett can win the Masters, Patrick Cantlay, I think, could for sure. Now, granted, that basically fell into Danny Willett's lap because Jordan had some issues on number 12.
Yeah. Is Danny Willett the most like random major winner?
Oh gosh, you have to give me a list of all the major winners. I mean, I'm trying to think like. Oh, let me look up someone real quick. I know the year. I know the tournament. I don't know the name.
Like I mean, I'd have to go back and look too, and I can't tell you anybody.
Like Sean McKeel, he won the 2003 PGA. I bet you haven't even heard of Sean McKeel.
Never, no.
Like that's the thing. He never won another tour event.
Like Brandel Chambly's one win at the North Vancouver Open in 1998.
All right. I think Danny Willett has a little more pedigree than
I agree with you. No. Like I'm just saying, like guy won one thing, has made one huge stride. There was a couple of those, maybe not Masters winners. I think Danny Willett's the only Masters winner who was like really out there and weird. I mean, like Mike Weir's a good golfer.
Yeah, but the thing is, Mike Weir is actually very good, like like prior to winning the Masters too.
Yeah.
Like he's won I think 7 times. He was a very good player. He used to average over 300 yards off the tee, believe it or not. Way back in the day. But like, geez, like, I just Googled random major winners in golf history. Rich Beam, Y.E. Yang, Jeff Sluman, John Mahaffey.
Yep. Here's a few actually. It's funny. You literally like can look it up and you can be like, golf's most unlikely major winners. Perfect. Like you said, Sean McKeel, Michael Campbell, the 2005 U.S. Open winner. You had mentioned Y.E. Yang.
Paul Lowry, another one.
Who?
Paul Lowry.
For a minute, I heard Kyle Lowry, and I'm like, the guy with the big ass. Who else? Like, could you consider John Daly a quote unquote random major winner? Like
Considering he was like 7th alternate that one time for the PGA, yes.
Yeah,
but then he won the Open at St. Andrews after, so I think really his first one was the more because no one knew.
Todd Hamilton, yes, Ethan, thank you. The 2004 Open champion. We mentioned Todd Hamilton once before on this show, previewing an Open championship. I remember this vividly. I go, who the fuck is Todd Hamilton? And we ended up like down the rabbit hole of who this guy is. And I don't think he really did anything outside of winning that one time.
Geez, Ben Curtis, Jeff Ogilvy shouted him out last week, I think.
Yeah, so actually, Todd Hamilton has 17 career wins. He only has one PGA, well, technically 2 PGA Tour wins, the Open, and he won the Honda in 2004. And otherwise, all of his other wins have come on the Asian circuit. He's won 11 times in Japan, and he won the rest, just the overall Asian tour. Won 7 times in Thailand.
You could also look at Gary Woodland.
Yeah, that could play.
I forgot he won but then again, he's a guy that had a superhuman power, which is driving the golf ball. When he was on,
but no one else could do it as well as he could.
And then there was one other player, Trevor Immelman.
Yes. The one thing what got Trevor Immelman to become a pundit was his sole major win. That's like a great story too. Apparently, it's like the one thing that like people wanted him to go on TV after his career was over, and they were all like, "Well, he's a major winner. We have to get him on." All right, we got to press on. Let's get some birthday shout outs. Why not?
Oh,
Ben?
Sorry, that's right. Yep, sorry. Hold on.
You're all good, cutie.
Happy birthday to Paul Azinger, the captain of the 2008 victorious U.S. Ryder Cup team. Sergio Garcia, who was in that Ryder Cup. I don't know if you know this, but Anthony Kim waxed him up so badly, and he was so focused. He went to the next hole, not realizing that he just won like 5 and 4, and had to turn around and go shake Sergio's hand.
Tough.
So, and yeah, that's actually funny. Ian Poulter, who is a Ryder Cup stalwart himself, and now a live player along with Sergio, and Ben Crenshaw, who is a 2-time Masters champion. I think he's a 2-time Masters champion. Ethan, can you check on that?
I know he's won one of them.
I think he's won twice. I think he's won twice.
I can't even tell you the year it was, but actually no, I think Ben might have only won one.
No, he won the Masters twice in 1984 and 1995.
Damn, that's far apart.
I am a golf historian.
I'm proud of you.
Oozing out of my brain.
Now, let me ask you this. There's one other birthday shout out that I want to give, and I'm curious if you can tell me, Mr. Golf Historian, what's her claim to fame. Nancy Lopez. Does the name ring a bell?
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, if you play golf, you know who Nancy Lopez is.
Nancy Lopez 51 pro wins, 3 majors, all came at the ladies PGA Championship. She's not only one of the true like pioneers of late 70s, early 80s golf. She was one of the first players ever since, I can't even tell you her name. Her first name was Babe. Was like one of the first players from like 40 years that was considered for a PGA Tour event spot. So like kind of consider her one of the pioneers for the Michelle Wees and Leslie Thompsons of the world to get their shots on the PGA Tour for those one-off events that they've played in. In her rookie year, 1978, she's the only golfer in history to do these 3 things in 1 year. Do you know what it is without looking at the phone?
Oh my God.
Her rookie year.
Okay, so I don't know the name of like this. You know how like it's like each award is named after like someone or something. She had the lowest scoring average.
Yep, that was the VAR trophy.
Okay, I was gonna say VAR, but
Well,
okay.
whatever it is, VAR.
Okay, she had the lowest scoring average. Did she win 9 tournaments?
She probably did at some juncture. I know. Yeah, she won 9 that her rookie year. She won 5 straight, but that isn't the one thing that I'm looking for. There are three honors that she got.
That doesn't count?
No.
Oh, I got one though.
Yeah, like you're on the right track. Like you win 9 times, you're probably going to earn this.
Most wins on tour by a rookie.
No.
Most consecutive wins on tours.
No, she's the only golfer in LPGA history to win the Rookie of the Year, the Player of the Year, and the lowest scoring average. And it all came, of course, her rookie season in 1978.
Oh.
It's fucking insane.
Oh, it's VAR.
It is VAR. You're right. Also, thank you, Ethan. This is why I love this man. Her name was Babe Zaharias. That was it. Who was the first pioneer to get a PGA Tour start. I believe Nancy never got one, but she was like one of the next ones that ever got considered, and it was like a 45-year difference between her consideration and Babe's. So, happy birthday to Nancy Lopez, one of the true pioneers of LPGA golf. We don't talk about the LPGA nearly enough on this show, but she deserves the utmost respect as one of the I'm pretty sure she made the Hall of Fame in like 4 or 5 years. Like she's one of the fastest players to ever make the LPGA Hall of Fame, which is like nuts. So, yeah.
Lydia Ko made the Hall of Fame, right? This past year?
Yeah. Yes. Well, she made it after winning the Olympics.
That's right. So it's really like you need like a certain number of wins on the LPGA, whereas like hypothetically in football, you retire, you wait 5 years, and then you're on a ballot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you need to there's like a points system, so like certain things are weighted at certain points, and you need to accumulate a certain number of like accolades in order to make the Hall of Fame. So like Lydia Ko is a Hall of Fame member at 27 years old, which is also like a obscene thing to think about.
That's just nuts. I'm 26. I feel like a failure. I actually feel like such a loser.
It's okay. Minwoo Lee sat down for an interview with his sister Minji, and she's like way better than he is. And they're sitting there, and the interviewer, I forget who it was like, Minwoo, like, how does it make you feel that your sister is top 5 in the LPGA? She's one of the best like winners over the last 3 years, and she's like 3 years younger than you. And he goes, honestly, like I suck. She beats me in match play all the time. And I'm like, that's a real brother right there.
Honestly, though, like I feel like that's a great dynamic to have, though. Like if you think about it, like that must be so motivating for both of them, because they're both like some of the best at what they do, and she just is better at her side of it than he is at his side of it. And so like those must be like some pretty intense matches. I can only imagine what the holidays are like when they're together.
Well, from watching the interview, from what I hear, Minwoo was better when they were younger, but she got better over time. And it was one of those like reverses. It's like the older brother always beats up on the little brother, or in this case, little sister, and like will never let them win, even though they're like, oh, let me win. And then finally they get good enough to beat them, and then they're like, I'm never looking back. It's the same thing as like when you used to like play your dad in basketball. The first time you beat him was like, yes, let's go, and then you just would like stomp on him every time because you got bigger and faster and stronger. Let's move on quick before we do some beer money. Let's chat a little Sony Open preview. So this event, as we push onto week 2, all the stats that you need to know, you can go back to our previous episode, but very similar to what we saw at Kapalua this week. Resort style course over at YLA Golf Club in, I believe, on the Big Island of Honolulu.
Yes.
You're going. Or Maui or Oahu.
No,
I don't know.
It's Honolulu. They were on Maui this week.
Thank you. It's so weird. I always get all of them screwed up. But while at Golf Club, wide open golf course, approach game is key. Hideki Matsuyama won here 2 years ago in a playoff against Russell Henley. I vividly remember watching that event. Hideki piped his drive on the 18th hole right down the middle. Henley found a bunker a tap in par 1. Grayson Murray won here last year. May he rest in peace. That was his final victory until his untimely death. And of course, this golf course is well known for producing much low scores, very similar to what you saw at Kapalua. Not as hilly by any means, but certainly a very gettable golf course. Anybody in this field can win, anywhere from Corey Connors, Tom Kim, Hideki Matsuyama, all the way down to the Steven Yeagers of the world. I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to take home some hardware. With that quick little preview, we get in. Yes.
It's actually one of the most narrow courses on the PGA Tour.
Is it really? It's a resort-style golf course.
No, Steve, this place is super tight. It's known as like one of the hardest driving courses on the PGA Tour.
I've gotten my analysis wrong for years, apparently. Then, unless
we talked about it last year. Every time we've talked about this tournament, we've talked about it. How it's one of the most. I think I used to be the one that was always doing the course previews, and now because we've done them so much, we just don't need to do them anymore. But no, it is one of the tightest courses on the PGA.
I always thought this was like, because like resort style courses are usually always very gettable. I thought unless it isn't a resort course.
I think it's an older course too, though.
What makes sense? Okay.
So most of those modern courses, those modern resort courses, are generally pretty wide open. This one's a lot older. I think this was built in the 60s.
Yeah, interesting. The more you know. Wonder who designed it.
Could look it up right now.
That's why we have Ethan.
Of course, I'm gonna do it before he does.
Oh, come on, Ethan, beat him out. First one to say it.
Robert Trentone's second.
Damn it!
Damn, you just got me.
Ha!
Ethan loses his first showdown of the week. Or sorry, first showdown of the show.
Of the year.
Hopefully, I can recover from my my poorest performance this past week in beer money. I'm looking to get back to even with Ben, even though it turns out I made a mistake, and I'll reiterate this for the folks at home. I did end up tying Ben going into the 2025 season, but Ben won 2-1 this past week to edge me out. He's now up 1. With that being said, let's get into some beer money picks brought to you by Kenwood Beer. So I'm watching the Giants game last night, or yesterday afternoon, and Saquon wasn't playing. Wasn't going for the record. Full respect to the Giants. Didn't want to play and go for it, even those players asked for it. Him and Sirianni agreed to not do it. So who got the ball all game long? Kenny Gainwell. You know what I bet on? Kenny Gainwell anytime touchdown. And I got shocked. And I got screwed over by like everybody. The Joe Burrow line didn't hit. The Mike Evans line didn't hit. FanDuel fucking sucks. Anyhow, I watched Kenny Gainwell march all over the New York Giants, and I did it while sipping on a Kenwood beer. It's like the greatest parallel of Philadelphia sports. Only 120 calories, 8 grams of carbs. Some call it the best light beer they've ever had. I most certainly think it's the best light beer that I've ever had. But we also just say that you can't beat the original taste of delicious Kenwood beer. Head to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Tracker to find where you can get your hands on some ice-cold, refreshing Kenwood beer from your favorite liquor stores in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, and, of course, at the Wells Fargo Center and beyond. Must be 21 years or older to consume, and, of course, please drink responsibly. Ben, as you hold a one pick lead, you'll lead off here. Top 20 at the Sony Open.
I always have to lead off. It's a little unfair sometimes, I think. Regardless, though, top 20, I'm going to go. What?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Top 20, I'm going to go with someone who is kind of further down the odds boards in general than what I was expecting, considering what his overall game is and how I feel like it does stack up well for a place that's a little shorter, tight, more of an older style golf course, much more placement golf. Go with Adam Hadwin for a top 20. I'm kind of shocked to see he's that far down the odds boards.
Very popular pick for you in Adam Hadwin. My pick, who also doubles as my PGA Tour Rookie of the Year this year, who I think is going to go off and have a tremendous season. He had his final two events of 2024 at the Sanderson Farm and the RSM, finished T8 in both of those. Also shot an opening round 67 at the Black Desert, but ended up withdrawing due to an injury. Is the second player to join the PGA Tour through PGA University. He's known as being a very tight course specialist from back in his playing days in college. I love Michael Thorbjornsen at plus 210 for a top 20 this week at the Sony Open. Your top 10 pick.
Okay, this is someone who I'm also a little surprised is as far down. He still is up there. Fresh face. There's basically a rule named after him now, so that's when you know he's legit. I'm going to go with Luke Glenn for a top 10. Did you know that Gilbert Arenas almost had a rule named after him?
Two very different people now in a sentence, okay?
But still.
What you can't bring Glocks into the locker room now?
No, but he does think that NBA players still do that. It was an amnesty clause or whatever. Like an NBA team could dump a player and file in the amnesty clause. They wouldn't have to. Player's salary would affect their team like financial situation towards signing up. He was the first player ever to be released under the amnesty clause.
Probably for that, right?
No, it's because he signed a huge contract, and then I think that he got traded to Orlando, and then they realized that like he just wasn't good anymore, and so they just dumped him. And so he's like I'm the greatest. He's like I'm the greatest of all time. I got paid $66 million to do nothing.
So speaking of insane contracts, you brought up the Yankees and like throwing money at issues. It made me think about, and you'll love this. I remember there was a 2-year clip where the Yankees spent like $180 million collectively just to sign AJ Burnett and Chase Headley. And it was like the two worst signings maybe in Yankee history, next to like Jacoby Ellsbury, and I mean the DJ LeMahieu contract's really bad too. But those two were like substantially bad, and I believe the Yankees filed like an insurance claim against Chase Headley because he was so bad. They tried to like get money back for paying him, and it just simply didn't work out. My top 10 pick, he's sitting at a pretty 320 plus 320 on the odds board. He made an albatross, so he might as well get the nod for a pretty damn good look at a golf course that in the past he actually has played quite well at. A horse for a course, the Canadian Taylor Pendrith for a top 10 for me. Your top 5.
Real quick, I'm not switching my guy. I just want to make sure that I know what I'm about to say about him.
All right, gorgeous.
Before I say it. Okay. This is actually kind of surprising to me. He's only won 4 PGA Tour events, which is kind of shocking, but he did win this event in his first ever start back in 2013. I'm happy I checked. I would have said 2012. Russell Henley for a top 5 finish.
I was going to take him to win, but I want to beat you. So now I can't take him to win. Even though, spoiler alert, I think he'll win the event. My top 5 will also be Russell Henley. He's going to dominate this golf course, and I am ecstatic for this guy to dominate this golf course. He is so good and is maybe one of the best unsung PGA golfers. I think I believe he's top 20 in the world right now, and Data Golf has him listed as 7 or 8 spots better than his actual ranking. That's how good Russell Henley is, but doesn't get any love because he's kind of a quiet guy. He just goes on business trips and just goes and plays. He's a tremendous golfer.
He's Mr. Consistent. Always plays well.
He's exactly what you want.
I mean, think about it. He's been on tour 11 years. He's only won. I say only, but in the grand scheme of things, never lost his card, 4 wins, but he's played out there 11 years.
Yeah,
that just even when he's not on, he's still really freaking good.
So you're right.
My gimme pick, of course, I wrote down the freaking name and I didn't put him down for where I thought he was going to finish because I'm an idiot. Let me pull up the odds boards. Where is this amateur hour, Ben? Where is he? Okay. I'm going to go on a little bit of a limb here. Actually, that's actually not even a limb. Denny McCarthy, top 20.
Yeah, no, not really a limb whatsoever. But I appreciate that. I'm gonna go top 20. He had a win during the fall series. Certainly think this is a guy who can have a really strong 2025. I'm gonna go Austin Eckroat for a top 20 finish of his own this week. And your winner at the Sony Open, who you like?
All right, I'm gonna go with. I always hesitate to pick someone who can go back-to-back weeks, which is why I'm not going with Hideki. I'm going with Corey Connors. He's second on the odds boards at plus 1,400, just 500 behind Hideki, who won last week. I was kind of thinking about Tom Kim, but I don't know. His year wasn't that great last year, and so I'm just gonna kind of stay away from Tom for a couple weeks, see how he plays. So yeah, Corey Connors for the win.
You don't believe it in back-to-backs, but I most certainly do. I'm taking Hideki Matsuyama to go back-to-back this week. Has nothing to do with the reason why he won Kapalua. This is an event that obviously he's won in the past. He's played consistently well at the Sony Open previously, and it's one of those things I heard someone mention this. I think it was Pat Mayo over at DraftKings. He said that the golf courses that you see in Hawaii, particularly something like the Sony Open, is very similar to the golf courses that you see in Japan back when he used to play. Kapalua is a different exception, but they're usually relatively hilly. This one kind of isn't, but they're narrow. It's a placement kind of golf course. The greens are all sort of contoured the same. The grass is the exact same. Because once you're out in the Pacific Islands, plus Japan, general relative climate and area, depending on when you play it, it's a very similar golf course, the Wailea Golf Club, than what he's used to back home in Japan, and he's been able to play well here as a result. I think Hideki Matsuyama is a great play here, and it has nothing to do with Kapalua because that is a completely different animal with the wind and the hills and the fact that you can go 35 under par. No one's going to break 23, I think here. Might be the lowest score you're going to get. So it's going to take some movement and some progression in order to win here. And the putter is already lightning hot in 1 week on Bermuda, 1-2 for Hideki. Ben, let me ask you this before we go. 2 things that are happening in the very near future. I want to know what you're more intrigued by. I know you've already been.
I already know what one of them is. I can already just feel it. Let's hear it. I think.
No, I already know that you're an anti TGL guy, but opening week tomorrow, the New York Golf Club versus the Bay Golf Club. Any interest in that, or found something really interesting? Animal Planet is doing a whole special on otters. Will you be tuning in to Animal Planet or the TGL tomorrow on ESPN?
Oh my god!
And I fucking love otters.
I mean, dude, I love otters too. You know what? They hold hands when they sleep so they don't float away from each other. How cute is that? I mean, like, come on.
The duality of Ben is I didn't listen to a word you said to I love otters because they hold hands.
Okay, just so you know, I was just kidding. I was listening the whole time. I was just being myself.
If you were to describe yourself as an animal, what would it be?
I mean, I didn't get to answer the question, but I'm not going to be watching either one. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick the otters.
Well, I'll be watching the TGL, and I will give a full report on Monday with how I feel about it.
Fine, be that way. It's fine. If I was an animal, what would I describe myself as?
Like, what's your spirit animal?
Oh, a lion for sure.
It's the most Ben answer of all time. I used to think that I was like a bear, like a brown bear, where I'm not like I'm like scary on the outside, but like I'm actually like a little like cuddle ball. I've also recently determined that I am a manatee.
What? Why?
I'm just floating, man. I'm just chilling. I'm a chill guy who just here for the vibes.
When you're just what was that whole Instagram thing when she gets mad at you for playing golf for the 4th weekend in a row, but you're just a chill guy that likes it's like with the bear thing.
yeah, bro. The fucking chill guy. I mean, did you not buy in on the chill guy coin?
Me? What do you mean?
Yeah, the Bitcoin for chill guy.
I don't have Bitcoin. I didn't even know that was a thing.
So you didn't buy a Hawk Tua coin either?
No. Why would I?
Did you hear about this? It's fascinating.
Isn't she like in serious fucking trouble or something?
She's like getting sued in a class action by the IRS for basically for fraud. The sick story.
Well, you know, I'd say I'm a lion because I think that I have very graceful presence. But when someone pisses me off, it's game over. So,
you know what I think you are.
But I can't say like I'm a sea creature though because I hate it's not that I hate the ocean. I'm terrified of the ocean. I don't like seeing. I don't like being in a position where I can't see what's under me or around me.
Ethan, what's your animal?
Oof, it's a tough one. I'd say like a dog, because fun to be around,
You want to see you as like a platypus?
A platypus? Oh
yeah.
Goodness. What?
Like a platypus or like a duck, just chilling out. Ben, I think it's a peacock.
A peacock is crazy. That's like a completely different end of the spectrum.
Ben is a peacock because you gotta let him fly.
Wait, what?
You're a peacock because we need to let you fly.
Why do you need to let me fly?
Oh, do you not get the reference?
No, I'm sorry.
The other guys, Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell.
I'm sorry.
Oh, peacock, let me fly.
That's a good movie.
It's a great movie.
I don't think I'm a peacock at all.
Ethan could also be a golden retriever. I could totally see that though.
Yeah, I mean, I think KB hit the nail on the head right there. No, we're not supposed to shout out the chat, but I mean, KB, hats off.
Chat, do you think Ethan is a golden retriever? Do you think Ben's a peacock? Chat. God, we're gonna start doing live shows, and I'm going to directly talk to chat. I'm gonna be chat. Is this real? Is this happening? That's been episode 186 of the Getting the Whole podcast. Sure to follow, subscribe on all of our socials. The socials have been back up and running, and shout out to Ethan for leading the charge on that one. We've been coming to you with some big time news all over Instagram and Twitter, especially some apparel deals that have gone down. Ashley Batia, Jordan Towers, Matthew, Max Homa, jumping to Lululemon and Puma Cobra. I would have never thought in a million years Max Homa would leave Titleist for Puma. That's like a crazy one for me. Also, I don't know if you saw it, but Jason Day like wore scrubs yesterday.
Oh my gosh, he looked hysterical.
Like he literally just like Kay saw the photo and was like, "That's literally what I wear to work." And I'm like, "That's amazing."
The thing is though, like Melbourne is not my style, but he just owns it. Like
he rocked it.
You could just tell it just. I think the style fits like his cool person because Jason is a really cool guy. Like
chill guy.
He's a chill guy. Like
a chill guy for the 8th time in 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, but yeah.
Like the guy literally wore like sweatpants and a t-shirt on the golf course and just like normalized it.
And he had a shirt with cigarettes on it at Augusta, and everyone at Augusta was having a freaking heart attack because
you know what's the best part? I know a guy who knows somebody who works at Melbourne and in passing has said, we're going to make something even more outrageous for the next Masters. And I'm like, yes, that's what we need. That's absolutely what we need.
Yeah. You need
follow the socials on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok and beyond. Of course, be sure to comment, leave a 5-star review, and answer our weekly poll here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and should be sure to subscribe on the YouTubes at Underground Sports Philadelphia. Continue to get us to that 1,000 follower mark. As we begin 2025 off to a hot start, Hideki Matsuyama breaking the PGA Tour score to par record. We will hopefully look to set more records as we grow into a great 2025. For Ben Pirro, that's Ethan Hogan. I'm Steve McAvoy. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GetInTheHolePod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at UndergroundPHI. We'll see you next time, and remember, get in the hole!